Great, very much. And again, I appreciate everyone's time this morning, and I hope you find this helpful. I want to talk a little bit today about managing projects, trying to utilize exception management. Hold on. Okay. Today's agenda. I'm going to start the discussion out with just a little question and an opportunity for you to give some thought so we can kind of put the next hour and a half into context for you. Just a little bit about, what is a project, what is a successful project, so we just kind of all get on the same page relative to that. A quick brief discussion about why projects fail. I've got to believe if you've been managing projects for any length of time, we've all had projects where they failed, and I just want to kind of go over some of the reasons why, and then based on those reasons kind of drill down into a couple of specific areas. One of the areas that I'm going to drill down into is really around project standards and then definitions of those standards. Managing exceptions, about some examples of how I've built a model that can help evaluate a portfolio, which is certainly a number or combination of projects, how we're going to review project exceptions, and then we're going to have a wrap-up. So we're going to do a lot of walkthrough, just high-level project success factors, some definitions which drive us into what is an exception, and then I'm going to walk you through an example of how I've created some tools that help me manage portfolios and project exceptions. So that's what's on the agenda for today. To kind of throw out there for everybody is just to think about, from your experience executing projects, just think of some reasons why projects fail, both large and small, and they all fail for a variety of reasons. And again, I'm sure we've all had them. I've had them. Hopefully, we all learn from them. Is really, if you haven't done, think back throughout the presentation here about why those things failed and what could you have done to improve the way you manage them. And that's really what the purpose of today's discussion is. So let's talk about what is a project. I think we all know, but let's get on the in the same context. The PMI definition of a project is the following, as you can see there. It's a temporary endeavor, and it's used to create a unique product, service, or result. It has a beginning and an end. Okay, so this would indicate that a project, as I just said, has a beginning and an end. It exists only for a point in time, and it creates some unique product, service, or deliverable. So I think we understand and agree on that. So what makes up a successful project? These aren't listed in any particular order, but I think if you accomplished all of these, you would say you had a successful project. One is certainly that it meets and satisfies all the users or organization's requirements. Satisfied, and I think we all know in projects they're depending on the breadth of the project, the depth that goes into the organizations. There are many users, many organizations, and potentially many stakeholders that are important to ensure that projects are successful and that you're taking care of meeting all of their requirements. Closeout activities that are complete, which basically is my way of saying projects just don't end when you've, say in a systems development effort, when you've actually turned the application on. There are some cleanup activities, closeout activities that all have to be completed to ensure that the project is successfully completed. Lessons learned. A lot of times individuals skip over doing lessons learned on projects, and that's really how we continue to improve and grow our process and our success rate within our organizations for culture, and clearly something that I hope you are all participating in or leading. It was completed on time and it was completed on budget. Those are clearly a couple of the key drivers for successful projects. So this is not meant to be an all-encompassing list, but clearly one that I would say if we can achieve these six items, we're probably going to have a successful project. Projects fail. certainly a long list here. And when I start putting this list up, everybody should kind of be thinking, yeah, that's one that I've encountered before. And if we can document those and begin to learn and grow on those and improve why projects are failing, we're all going to be better project managers. So projects fail. First off, poor planning. We tend to skip over planning and a multitude of projects for the sake of we have to get going. We've got to start now. We got to get moving, and that tends to result in failure. Unclear requirements, changing requirements, so scope creep. I'm sure that shows up in many people's projects. Scope creep, and if we haven't clearly defined those requirements up front and gotten agreement on it, it's very difficult to be able to manage the scope. Sometimes projects run without project managers. Sometimes projects don't really do a formal risk management process to identify what the risks might be and to be able to assess their impact and put mitigating actions in place to ensure that those risks don't occur. Conflicts with resources. Organizations do we have where we're running a multitude of projects, we're all trying to share resources, and that becomes a difficult process to make sure that the right people are working on the right activities at the right time. But to manage our vendors well enough who may be providing hardware, software, other capital equipment, services, labor, et cetera, to make sure that they are effectively utilized and that we're managing them effectively. That kind of goes back to the clear requirements in the scope. If we can't define the scope very well, it's pretty difficult to really understand what changes are and when a change occurs. Management commitment. Lots of projects require significant management commitment from senior level on down because typically projects in IT do a lot of transformation of the business and the culture, and that requires management commitment and focus. Lacking potentially poor teamwork. Maybe not enough user involvement in projects. Allocations potentially. Not be strategic. Sometimes projects just don't get all the focus from the organization because they may be down on the priority list, but to you as a manager, they could be your most important projects, so that impact. No post-mortems on previous projects, so we don't carry forward lessons learned. We don't solve that from previous projects, and if we don't, they continue to repeat themselves, and you'll just continue to fail at projects. Standards. We may not have standard ways to estimate the work, to be able to schedule our projects. If they're not in place, again, that is also difficult to manage a project. No progress guidelines. And what I mean is not activities, but can we really tell where we are in the middle of a task? If we schedule those tasks utilizing small enough increments so we can determine where we are in those tasks, do we have a way to be able to get feedback from our users and our team to understand if we're ahead or behind on the delivery of the tasks? We don't always know in projects whether we're late or not. Projects lack is metrics. There may not be enough metrics to understand whether a project is on time or late, or whether it's performing the way that the best organization or management. Projects probably never fail from a lack of effort. We got lots of people out there, including all of us on this phone. We all try hard to make projects work, but when you look at this list, there are a lot of potential hazards out there that project managers have to manage to ensure that project management comes in on time. What I'm really going to try to focus on here is these last three: project standards, progress guidelines,